Now it's time for On Point, where we speak to experts to delve deeper into the biggest news stories in the spotlight right now. South Korea's intel agency recently told lawmakers at the National Assembly that the term Kim Jong-un-ism is now in use internally in North Korea as Kim seeks to carve out his own legacy, step fully out of the shadows of his father and grandfather, as well as to further solidify his grip on power. He reportedly ordered all portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il be removed from venues where the Workers' Party meets.
Yes, for more on this, we connect to Mark Barry, a longtime North Korea expert and the associate editor of the International Journal of World Peace. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Now, Mark, what does Kim's move suggest about his own confidence as leader? And is it a smart move on his part?
It's almost the 10th anniversary of his assuming office rather suddenly. You'd almost have to say that if he didn't do this, there would be something odd. He almost is compelled to do so, especially as he approaches his 40th year. Really, it's a name change, and I'm not even sure if these reports about the taking down of the portraits of his father and grandfather are that accurate. It's just really hard to verify that because visitors can't get in very easily, and also even most of the diplomats have been sent home or have gone home. So, we have to take all those kind of reports with a grain of salt. But the main thing is it's his 10th anniversary in power, and it's almost an expected move.
Yeah, it would seem rather disrespectful to him just to suddenly take down all the portraits of his father and grandfather, considering their importance to the regime. But in regards to something else North Korea has been up to in recent days, artillery firing exercises. These happened just a couple of days ago. Now, people say this move was really aimed at kind of getting a message over to Washington and Seoul to try and stop them having this kind of hostile policy towards the North, as the North keeps saying. Does this kind of behavior have a track record of working? And if not, why does the North persist with it?
I think they're doing the artillery exercises to do artillery exercises. If they didn't do this kind of training, then the United States and other nations would get the idea that something is seriously wrong. So as serious and pressuresome the impending food crisis is, they don't want to show that their military readiness is down. So they're basically trying to show, it's kind of like if they were close to starvation, they still would tighten their belt and pick the food with a toothpick out of their mouth to show that they're full. I think that's the kind of thing that's going on. But it has its domestic purpose, which is military training for the sake of military training.
And also, a crackdown is reportedly happening in the North to stamp out foreign culture, primarily music and movies that filter across from South Korea, as well as efforts to crush that regime label's corrupt capitalist tendencies. What's the regime's rationale behind this crackdown?
This opens up a huge question, which is, with the success of Parasite, with the success of Squid Game, of Minari, and the huge success of BTS and other groups, South Korea is a global power, and North Korea is stuck with the branding of 1945 to 1948, and really not that much to show for it, except for nuclear weapons and potentially intercontinental range missiles. So the question is, what is North Korea these days? And is the dream of unification really what it was to the North Korean people, to the population? Can the regime trumpet that anymore? So I think these are the hard questions that they're trying to deal with. And they fall back on old measures, which is to trump the ideology, trump the great leader. But they have come to the point to realize that South Korea is no longer the other Korea. It's a global power, a global phenomenon. So that's an identity crisis for North Korea.
Certainly is. Now, economically speaking, final question before we have to let you go, unfortunately. But North Korea really is having a torrid time in terms of its economy, even by its own standards, in years gone by. In light of this, now the regime seems to be tentatively restarting cross-border trade. That was all halted, of course, when the pandemic started. In your mind, do you think North Korea has to, at this point, fully reopen trade links with China, maybe to a lesser extent Russia, if it wants to get through, you mentioned it before, the food shortages, what is going to be another grueling winter?
Indeed, they would like to do as much as they can, but we have to actually evaluate what they did when COVID began to strike, which is that they did something more severe to themselves than even the sanctions have done in all the recent previous years. So North Korea is accustomed to dealing with these massive crises of goods, of consumer goods, and even of food supplies. They may think there's a way they can somehow manage it. But at the same time, we also have to know that there'll be suffering and there'll be sacrifice. And we may not have the eyes and the ears on the ground like we did in the mid-1990s to tell us what's really going on. But somehow North Korea thinks that its sovereignty and its independence is the highest value, and they're going to do everything they can to just make it, even if they don't get the normal help that they would get from China.
Well, Mark, as always, we appreciate your insights on the matter. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.